for me, the strangest thing was somewhere between 45 and 50. Something changes in your head. And I was thinking about this the other day, because when I was young, I was going to have a nice house at the beach. I was going to travel everywhere with my wife. It was going to be the life of Riley. And then you work and you go to work and you come back and you do anything. And then suddenly one day you're walking along the beach and you see a fantastic house, and it doesn't bother you because that's something that other people have. Do you see what I mean? My whole mindset had slipped away. So as before, it was always, one day I'll have a house at the beach. One day I'll have a car like that. One day I'll travel. I ended up in this place where I didn't even look at the houses on the beach because other people have those houses. And when you see, not that I want a flash car, but you see somebody with a Maserati, I go, must have a rich dad, or he's dealing in drugs. You know, my whole being removes the possibility that there was something that I did that got me to where I am. And no, but worse than that, I've somehow convinced myself I never wanted a nice house. I never wanted to travel. And you end up in this little box and you just trundle along, go to work, come home, watch telly, go to dinner with friends. And I don't know what happened, somewhere between 33, or when I was going to own everything and run everything, to 55, where I somehow had convinced myself it doesn't matter and I don't need that.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, so we may sacrifice some of those dreams and some of the things that we aspire to have. And, again, we get caught up in that day-to-day routine. But I've realized is that people sacrifice more than even their dreams. We're sacrificing some of the most important things, right? And I think it's concession after concession after concession that we make when we're not aligned to actually pursuing what's in our heart. And again, it's like when you start blocking it, the next thing you know, it's like you wake up and you had that realization. It's like, well, this is not the life I wanted. This is not the reality I was set out to create. And then we're at the mid or the end of our careers, and it's like, okay, well, let's take some inventory. Where am I? What did I do? What did I accomplish? And, what do they call that? Is that like a midlife crisis, I think? But for you, what was that like, where you're like, okay, I'm trotting along, and it's like, not just the house of the dream, but what were these other things that you were making concessions on?
It's two things triggered it at the same time, because yes, it is that. You go 40 to 55. I was working at a company flying business class through Africa. Everything was fine. And then it just dawns on you, because you don't have I didn't ever have a meeting with myself. I didn't sit down first Sunday of each quarter and assess. But what I found had happened is you start ticking boxes as good enough. So I look at my life, and I've got a friend who went right through university and everything with me. He invented a soft drink that Coca-Cola bought off him, and they paid him a ton of money. So he bought a big farm up in Canada and built a log farm. Each of his kids has got one house in Los Angeles, one's got a house in New York. And some reason, all of us mates, we took Joe and put him over there. And it just occurred to me, how did that happen? Because when we were all 27, we shared a house together, and Joe was just Joe. And somehow he's done this work. He's created the soft drinks with vitamins in. I forget the name. Maybe you know it better than us. It's big in the States. And everything worked out. Coca-Cola wanted to diversify. They bought it for a shed load. He didn't even negotiate. They offered him so much the first time. And the first thing he went out and did was buy him and his wife each a new car, because he'd never have a new car. Now, it's not the materialistic thing, but Joe had suddenly arrived there, and then he took the money, and he always wanted to run a brewery. So he started making breweries, making whiskey somewhere. And meanwhile, I was planning down.
Yeah.
And I was saying, okay, I'm going to have that pension. I've got this much money, so we'll be very happy in a little village at the coast, because we will eat local food and we have the sunshine. Yes, we've got the sunshine, and you start making where I am better than what I always wanted, which is what Joe's got.
That's right.
And I start making that smaller life the reward. But you said something at lunchtime that just hit me so hard. It said, yeah, but when, it sounds terrible, but when you get to the end of your life and you look back, you're going to be honest with yourself
Yeah.
and you will know you failed.
Yeah,
And
because
all of this is all of that together is just turmoil in my head.
yeah, because I think it's like what we're doing is we're playing smaller, right?
Yeah.
As you said, it's like I keep shrinking it to make myself feel comfortable, right? I keep shrinking it so, you know, maybe it's like I don't have to step into uncertainty or step into something I
Yeah.
really want because hey, you know what? It's good enough. I'm surviving right now. You know, our mind plays that trick with us. And I think as we get older, it's like we're more accepting and I think we're a little bit more stubborn and we're more set in our ways. And
Yeah.
I think what I've realized is, you know, we lose our power in that story and that narrative. I mean, as you know, I've been in this online space for a long time.
Yeah.
I've seen people at 73 literally learn skills, sell products and services online, and travel more than they ever did in their career. 60s, 65, 50s. I've seen all walks of life do it. But the common denominator was it's like, yeah, they're future pacing their life and thinking like, do I want to have regret? Do I want to have resentment with myself about not honoring what was in here? And I think that's the first honest conversation people should have. And I think if we're not truly at peace with where we are, then do something about it. Just because you're 50, 60, or you have a story in your head, it doesn't mean it's reality. It's just a story, right? Because what you do have is life experience, right? And you speak about how, you know, the power in life experience. And when you kind of look back at, you know, all the things we did accomplish, well, you know, you already proven to yourself you could do it. You already proven yourself you can do what your friend did or create any outcome. It's just in a box. But why don't we just break the walls of that box down and really pursue what we want, right? And you told me that on one of our calls, which I love. I guess that story that you shared. But what comes up for you in your journey? How did you break through those confines? Because I'm sure there's other people who would benefit or resonate with where you were to how you started to shift your mindset. Like what happened in your journey
Yeah.
to have you kick those doors down to say, you know what, I'm not settling for that anymore. I'm busting through it, no matter what your age is, no matter who you think you are, what tech skills you have or don't have. I mean, I think that's all nonsense, right? It's just a story that doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And you broke that paradigm. And I think it was just a decision, but I'm really curious to.
Two things. Everything seems to happen in two things, doesn't it? So two things. I realized at one stage, I was about 2 or 3 months in, that I was really struggling with the tech stuff because it's all so alien to me. Because again, this lethargy. There's a word I don't use a lot. It gets into you. So I was 55, 60, and the internet's booming and everything. I think, you know what? I'm just getting out of the workplace just in
I don't
time.
need that.
I don't need to worry about that. I've got young kids here who've set up our website and all that, and I can breeze into retirement without having to learn this internet malarkey. And unfortunately, it meant I knew nothing, and I spent 3 months struggling with all the steps. And then it was Vicky who said to me, you know, why don't you get someone else to do that stuff?
Yeah.
And I said to her, well, that's crazy because if somebody else sets up my website, I don't know how to do it. She is not part of the program at all. She said to me, how many websites are you going to set? And I just thought, damn it, I hate it when she's brilliant. I'm going to do one. She says, so you're going to spend 3 months struggling to put up a bad website. Get someone to do it for you who can do it. So that was the one realization for me. And the other one was the experience thing. And that came almost by accident. I was with a couple of friends and they'd asked me what I was doing. And I went to YouTube to try and find somebody's YouTube ad. I didn't mind who came up. And we were flicking through the YouTube ads. And it dawned on me that everybody on YouTube under 45, 50 was doing one of three things. And this is a generalization. a dance, because they do a clever dance. You can see them doing that. They were showing you some tricks that they do to their friend, and look, this one walks around, boom, that explodes. Ha ha
Yeah,
ha,
yeah.
that's funny. And a couple of things like that. If you and anyone can do it now, go onto your laptop and type in, I need the bathroom wall rebuilt. How do I do it? I bet you the first 10 videos that come up, the bloke or the lady is 45 plus,
Yeah.
because they know, they've got experience. They know how to do things. And that for me was the epiphany. I thought, hang about. Older people know stuff, but they don't know how to do the tech.
Right.
And if there's, I can find a way to get older people to understand that you just either get it done for you, or you can lesson by lesson do it yourself. But get that stuff up, because what people want online is your experience.
That's right. And sometimes our story about our experiences, oh, I can't do that. I had a whole life being an accountant or running a business or being a producer or doing this. I'm not this technical person, but it's the journey that you went on gives you a perspective, gives you wisdom, right? Gives you something that you can share with people, because in our journeys we overcome things, we follow what's in our heart, we accomplish things. And who does that appeal to? Everyone who wants to accomplish something else or overcome a challenge, right? So it's like, okay, where some people think, oh, well, my story doesn't matter. I'm just this type of person, but actually your story is really powerful. Your experience is powerful, because like you said, it's in that experience that we can share and help cultivate people to break through. But the other side is like, oh, well, I'm not technical. I don't have to do this. I'm towards the mid or the end of my career. It's not relevant. Well, why would we put a box around ourselves? Because I'm not technical. I started in the online space when I was 29. I wasn't technical. I came from carpentry and phone sales. I knew nothing about. I could send emails and I can like copy and paste stuff, right? But when I actually sunk into it, I realized it's like, all right, I watch something and I just repeat it. I click, I copy, paste, or I type a code in, or anyone can do that, right? So it's not that we're not capable or that people aren't capable of doing it. It's getting past the story of what we think we're not, looking at our story and realizing what we are, and then shifting and having a current narrative that we can do anything because I already proven it to myself. That's how we gain the experience, right? So it's the perfect recipe for anyone in my mind. And I think this was the common trait. And I love that you're bringing this up, that I've seen all walks of life of people break through regardless of who they thought they were or what they needed, because what do you want when one of my friends told me, it's the rocking chair test, right? It's like you're 80, 70, 90, you're sitting there, you're on your porch, right? And you're looking back at your life. It's like, I know for me, having regret meant one thing. Doing something in my life that I didn't have the courage to step into, meaning that to me it was the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, I don't care if I made the change at 55 or 60. To me, if I kept ignoring it, then that means to me that I played small. Right? I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust the journey. How can we not trust ourselves or the journey of life? But that's what is. That's what makes our world. It's almost like we're against that flow of how the world creates. And when we can align to that and we break down these limiting beliefs, this is what you did. And I think this is why you went from somebody who, my reflection back to you when I saw your journey was, you got your ass kicked towards the end of your career. You're like, okay, I want something different. I'm going to make a move. I'm going to the Algarve. I'm going to open up this bed and breakfast where you couldn't fully retire. You still kind of had to plug in, do something to make some money. So it's like, maybe the 9 to 5 or the corporate environment let you down a little bit because it didn't get you the house. You started to play small. And then here you are where we should be living in our golden years. We should have enough money to live life on our terms. It's like, I kind of want to be semi-retired. I kind of want the B&B. I kind of want to do it in Portugal and kind of like, but I still have to work. And then COVID hit, right? And then that dream was like snuffed right out of you. And then it's like, when you shared on one of our calls, it's like, okay, you get in this dark place. You get in this place where it's like, okay, well, I left the career, COVID hit. You can't go back to the 9 to 5. Who would hire somebody at that stage when they can hire young bucks out of college? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, what do you do? And I think the gift is the world we live in. It's like, anyone can learn this stuff. And you just made a decision. You made a decision not to be a victim to your circumstance. You made a decision, you know what? It's kind of like when our world crumbles and we don't have a choice and our back's against the corners when we become powerful, because you can only go in one direction when your back's in the
Yeah.
corner. You can just go forward, or you don't have a choice. I think there's power in that. And sometimes we have to create that narrative in our minds that, you know what, I can't accept this anymore. I can only go forward in a direction that's going to serve me. And what I've witnessed in your story, which I love, is that you, knowing you're not technical and you didn't care to be technical, is finding solutions to work with coaches or to have people do some of the tech stuff for you. You learned the fundamentals of selling online, and you were selling other people's products online. You're like, all right, well, I don't have a product. Didn't matter. Or I could sell other companies' products, get paid a commission, and you learned affiliate marketing, which was cool. And then from there, you're like, wow, I've learned this really powerful skill set, which is just based on communicating, which every human does every day in their life. You learn this powerful skill of messaging, selling other companies' products. You didn't have to develop the products, you didn't have to do the customer service, you didn't have to do any of that stuff. You're like, I could just create content, put it online, and I can make money by doing that. Perfect. But what that did is it opened up this whole new world for you. Because once we got out of COVID, we're in your B&B right now. We're hanging out. I mean, how's business?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Right? You learn marketing skills. You said business is better than it's ever been. And leading up to it, it's like you could pretty much bring customers into this B&B when you want, because you know how to market online.
Yeah.
And not only that, with your marketing skills and what you've learned on how to not just market other companies' products and service online, doing affiliate marketing, not only did you start to build a customer base and have a successful B&B, but now you're like, hey, I can actually teach what I've learned to other owners of bed and
Yeah.
breakfast. So now it's like you have 3 different income streams you can tap into, where once your world was, how do I get out? I can't make the change. I don't have time. I don't have the skills. Oh, poor me, boo-hoo. But it wasn't that. Sure, we have our moments, but you rose to the occasion. You just put one foot in front of the other, and now, I mean, anything's possible, right? And that's a great place to be where you're at in your career and at this stage in your life. And I think people deserve to know that, right? Because I think sometimes we get caught up in that narrative of playing small.
Yeah.
And here you are, in my mind, playing as big as you can ever play, because you're following what you want to do.
That's the thing, that I've set a goal for the winter, because it will get quiet here no matter how much
Yeah.
I market.
What's that? What's that goal?
Because Vicky's my little font of wisdom, because she piped up in the same thing, that she just does comments like, how old was Colonel Sanders when he started? And you feel like such an idiot, but that's just her comment of the month. Then she'll wander off and you won't hear from her for another month. And she said to me the other day, what? Because I was going to say in the winter, I'm going to rebuild the bed and breakfast site and get it really good. She said to me, yeah, but when are you going to do something you love? And I went, what? She said, you started as an affiliate marketer so you could learn the skills. Then you've done 2 sites, one for our bed and breakfast. You've built a couple of other people's sites. You've done the training site for bed and breakfasts. But you more or less hate running the bed and breakfast. When are you going to build something you love? So I slapped her a bit, because you cannot be that cheeky. And I just thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to see if I can get the quids together. And November, December, I've got to go on one of the trainings. And we had a chat. I think it's to do with travel. And that worries me as well, because I don't think there's anything online more over marketed, populated than travel. So I've got to find a niche in travel. And Vicky says, well, all we've got to do is find something that gets people to take us to different places in the world. So that's more or less the brief. She wants me to build a website, which means, and I haven't worked it out yet, but a website that means, okay, January, February, South America, March, April, May, Iceland, June, July, August, Africa. That's what she wants. And then we'll both be as happy as Larry, traveling around doing, and she doesn't care what I do,
Right.
but as long as she can travel and find new places. And I just thought, she's right again, and that's really annoying. But I've got to find, my next job is not, I was just going to build 2 more sites so that when I was 65, I had 5 sites earning me money and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going back now, and I'm going to go back onto the original training and find something that I really, really love. She said, that's what you need to do. So when you're 65, you can, close down this one, close down the guest house one, close whatever. But to be able to wake up in the morning and be excited to get on and do something. And so that's the mission for the winter.
It's brilliant because I think so many, it goes back to, and I got to say her wisdom is spot on. It's like, we keep going, we keep building, we keep kind of like doing it. And I know you love what you do now and you have choice, you have freedom, you have flexibility, but it's more of like, well, get more of what you want in life right now. It's an upfront decision, right? And now is the time for you to do that because I think you've proven to yourself you have the core skill set now, right? You've done it in affiliate, you've done it with your own B&B, you've helped other B&B owners. So with these skills, yes, you have 3 successful income streams with what you've learned. For you to get creative and develop that next one that, maybe you can travel a little bit more, maybe harness more of your passion, more of the things that light you up, that can also kind of propel you into the lifestyle, more of what you want. I mean, I don't think anything is going to stop you.
I've got a secret that I'll share with you and whoever watches this video. That was a stupid thing to say. Vicky doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to go into gold, and I think you get 20 coachings or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to split them in half,
Okay.
and she is going to sit down and do 10. She's going to hate that. She's the world's introvert master introvert. But I just thought about what she was saying. I said, okay, if we're going to build a life we want, that's a we.
Yeah.
Here's 10 hours to find out, well, let's say 7 hours on your own, 7 hours on my own, and 7 hours together. Let's find this thing that we want, because that's the piece that's missing. At the moment, I get up and work, and she does what she wants because I'm working on the computer.
Yeah.
Now, if I can just combine that and working with the team, get to a thing that Vicky and I both love and want to do, I just go, there we go. That's my mission.
And there's power in that because it's like, we have these dreams, right? And this is just reminding me of something that's really important, I think, for everybody to realize on their journey. We have these things we want, and sometimes we feel like it's so out of reach. I don't know what it looks like yet. What's the business? I don't know how it works. And you've done it in 3 different income streams. But sometimes we have to go back to the root, right? And this is a core principle of what we do at Launch You. It's like building something you love, build a life that you love. Getting back to that prepare phase with the coaches, right? Speak with Sabine, speak with Genevieve, or just go back to that place
that's
where
the plan, those 2.
Yeah, they can, go back to the core essence of what's driving you, what's the outcome that you want, what problem can you solve, what interests you, how can you develop a business around that. We don't have to see it clearly before we step in. If we had all the answers and we had it all figured out, there'd be nothing to do. We'd just be living in the end outcome, right? So if we don't have the end outcome, we almost have to surrender this idea that, I can't do it, it's so far away, and just kind of get back to the root. And getting to that prepare phase, as you know, the framework that we have here, no matter how inexperienced, let's say somebody's not in your position where they've done it 3 times, get back to the root, right? Get back to the core of what drives you. What are the things that excite you? Where do your passions lie? And go through that process. Let the people who have helped, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in our community, thousands over the last decade and a half, develop this. And it's like, you may not have the answers now, but I think what you know is that if you just put yourself out there to that process, trust that process, I have no doubt that you and Vicky will create something powerful, something that's meaningful to you both, and something that's going to give you the end outcome with what you want. Because you already know the marketing skills, how to get the funnel set up, how to, like all that other stuff that you probably feared the most. It's like, I got that now. Now it's almost like, well, you mean I get to this creative space and do
Yeah.
anything?
So that's what I want to try new. I'm so comfortable now that there are people in your team,
Yeah,
and you send them some money and they do it. So
yeah,
okay, get on with it. That's fine. Thank God. I just think it'll be a new thing, or definitely for me, but a new area to go. It's almost marriage counseling. Not, we've got a brilliant marriage, but to
yeah.
take Vicky and I and say, okay, what's your plan? What are you guys going to do? And so inclusive.
Yes.
And I think that's just a thing. And I'm hoping that out of that, a lot of other people, because I see on my groups, I see on my chats, there's all one person, and you can see little things. There's a little couple, and you just think, oh, that's the thing. They're doing it together.
Yeah,
And there's something in that I'm after.
that's beautiful. So naturally, I think you've been through this journey and towards the end of your career to this new skill set that you've learned. You're not trading time for money, you're creating the outcomes that you want. It's inspirational. And I'm sure you talk to people about your journey, if that's online, if it's through your marketing, if it's, you're helping people and inspiring them through, hey, like learn these skills too, or maybe you're having conversations at the bed and breakfast. But what do you tell people? What do you tell people who were that old version of you, who are kind of in that world that you used to be? Like, what do you
Yeah.
tell them now? What would your advice be to them? What kind of counsel would you give them if they kind of want the change, but they're like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know.
For me, it becomes clear in my head, maybe just because it's clear in my head.
Yeah,
But you've got experience.
mm-hmm.
People want that
That's
experience.
right.
Put it online.
Love it.
It's simple. I made such a big mistake starting this wonderful bed and breakfast because we moved out here to the Alentejo,
Mm-hmm.
and even now during the busy season, I'm in the box.
Yeah,
I get up at 6:30 in the morning. I go in and I prepare breakfast. I mean, you saw me today at lunchtime,
yeah,
running around serving salads, doing that, and it's like that the whole of the summer. I'm a little kitchen worker.
yeah,
Nothing I can do because I've got to get another couple of years till we can afford to not run this thing at all. But using your existing experience, and that's all you need, because the interweb stuff it's not there. It sounds funny, but I'm talking to people my age, my generation. You're not here to learn how to do the interweb. Stefan and all these people are in there with bits and bytes and clever things. I go, just look on and admire it. And when they're finished, plug in the bits you need to plug in, and off it goes.
yeah,
Don't, for my generation, I think you have to be really a specialist to try and learn the internet. I go, it changes too fast. There's so much you haven't learned. Take your strength, which is your experience, and do something with that.
yeah. And that reminds me of one other thing in combination. It's like, you know, a lot of people say they want freedom, right? Especially when they get to that part of the, oh, I want freedom. I want to travel. I want financial freedom, time freedom. And something that I've realized is that people don't really want freedom. Why? Because they're already free, right? And it's a power of your decision. Okay, so if anyone feels like they're in a cage or they can't do what they want to do, you made the decision to do the B&B before you understood the reality you understand now.
Yes.
Right? Now that you understand the new reality and what you can do, because you made that decision, wow, it's like, okay, I want something different. But if anyone feels like we're in that box, we have to understand one thing: our free choice created the box.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to make anyone feel bad, but it's to empower them of what actually is going to make the change. It's the decision. So instead of learning a skill where we trade time for money, learn a skill where you leverage and just using systems, technology, and other people. These are the three things that can replace us. And the beautiful part about the world we live in today is that we really don't want freedom. We want leverage, right? And what creates leverage are using systems, technology, and other people. And online business is the epitome of that. Why would anyone want to learn a skill where you have to sit in a box, so to speak, or the office or the restaurant, when it's like, hey, I can learn how to use these websites that will speak to customers 24/7, that people can opt into my program, or they can buy my products or services. I don't have to be there. I can have Google and YouTube put these messages out, and people could just buy while you're traveling to
Yeah.
Iceland, while you're going. I don't know if you want to go back to South Africa or wherever you want to travel, but it's beautiful. And I think when you realize that, it's almost like you can look back and think like, wow, do we want to regret not stepping into that? Because learning skills around using systems, technology, or other people, or learning what this internet can do for our lives, it's no different than learning the trade for time skills. It's no different. It's not harder. It's not less hard. It's just you take one step, you understand the nuances of it, but it's the strategy, right? And I think when we realize it's not about having freedom, we're already free. It's making decisions to learn the skills, the hard skills that will create the lifestyle you want. And now that you're on the other side to that, right, with the perspective you shared about experience, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And I'm looking forward to the next part of your journey. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Brilliant.